I went on a first date with a girl once. We're trying to relate to each other. And I was like, I used to drink a lot in college. She goes, yeah, I tried crack 3 times. I was like, what? She goes, yeah, I tried crack 3 times. And I was like, I'm pretty sure you tried crack once. And then you just did crack. It's not a 1-month trial period to Disney Plus. It's crack. Anyway, when I married her, No, she quit. I'm kidding, she hasn't quit. But every day is a new day. No, I did not marry the crack girl. Just called her a crack girl. I did go on a first date with a girl who said she tried crack. And this is how desperate I was at the time. In my head, I was like, I could date a crackhead. I was like, my standards have never been that high. But I couldn't get out of my head the whole date. Then they brought the dessert menu, and I was like, oh, you gotta try the cheesecake. It's like crack. Oh no.
Dan Altano. 3:30 in the morning, Daddy. The album's gonna be called Stand Up Dad. This is gonna be the first special ever recorded at this venue, so I'm pretty pumped.
Dan Altano! Let's go! But I am happily married to a non-crackhead. I couldn't tell if you were clapping for being married or non-crack. I can't tell. We've been married for 8 years, and that's where the laughs and the claps stop, apparently. We've been married for 8 years. We went out to celebrate our 8-year anniversary. We were so excited to have some alone time for once. And my wife was too excited. Because at dinner, she's like, honey, there's a dance club next door. That's how you know we're getting older. She called it a dance club. I was like, honey, I don't think we should go to the club. She goes, let's just go, as long as there's no copay. I was like, did you forget how to say cover charge? I think if we're calling it a copay, we're too old to go in. I think that's officially the rule. I was like, honey, I think that club is out of network. I hear the Jell-O shots have a deductible. I'm not sure we should go. It's a pretty good relationship. My marriage, it's a pretty good relationship. But I like being around my friends whose relationships are crumbling around them. Don't you like that? It's kind of like a pick-me-up for your own situation. There's signs your friends are in bad relationships. You got to pay attention to the phrases they use. I took my buddy to a hockey game the other night. He was so happy the whole time. I'm like, what's up, man? You seem so joyful. He goes, yeah, I'm just so happy my girlfriend let me be here. I was like, oh, I didn't realize you were dating a parole officer. I don't want to be all judgy. I'm like, dude, my wife isn't letting me be here, all right? She doesn't know I'm here. There is a huge difference. But making plans is the biggest argument in my marriage. My wife and I have one of those shared Google calendars. It's the biggest argument in my marriage because my wife gets so mad at me. I'm not good at putting dates in the calendar. My wife says the same thing to me every time. She's like, if it's not in the calendar, it's not gonna happen. If it's not in the calendar, it's not gonna happen. I was so excited about this show. I put this show in the calendar a month in advance. I have never seen my wife more turned on in my entire life. She heard the ding on the calendar. She walked in the kitchen. She was taking her clothes off in the kitchen. She goes, get in that bedroom right now. I was like, is that in the calendar? Because if it's not in the calendar, it's not gonna happen. I had the upper hand for 2 seconds of my marriage, and I milked it. I was like, no, I'm not just gonna go in there and just change my schedule for you and just follow you in that bedroom. And then my wife said something that was really hard to argue with. She goes, you sure? I was like, I guess I can pencil you in, I guess. I used to love A full schedule. Now the most beautiful thing I can ever lay my eyes upon is an empty calendar. Oh. It happens when you get older, you know? I'm 39. Thanks. And no, don't do that after. Don't clap after. I felt what it deserved the first time. It's crazy the difference a decade makes, right? To 29, I was like, I gotta do it all before I'm 30. And at 39, I'm like, I gotta lie down. And things I used to want to do, I don't want to do anymore. Like my buddy calls me the other day. He goes, dude, I'm getting married. We're going on a bachelor party to Vegas. This is how I know things have changed in my life. My response was, how many nights? He goes, 3. And I was like, that's too many nights. And look, I am very happy that my friend found love. But I think he found it too late. I got heartburn, I can't process gluten anymore. I don't want to go to Vegas. 3 nights partying in Vegas at any age is a lot. At 39, it's aggressive. It is. By night 2, I'm gonna be like, you guys just wanna watch a movie? These hotel rooms are nice. We haven't spent any time in these rooms. Hey, I have an idea. How about instead of doing an 8-ball, we get 8 hours of sleep? Yeah. How about instead of getting blackout drunk, blackout curtains? Let's do it. Let's shut it down. That's the other thing I'm noticing about getting older. I care about sleep so much, but I'm not good at it. I don't have that superpower that some of you have where you could just shut it down. Like, clap if you can sleep or nap whenever you feel like it. You can, and you can't. It's always split by the couple. It is always split by the couple, because there's a person who can fall asleep, right? And then there's a person who lays there all night wondering how the hell that other person can fall asleep. That's me and my wife. My wife has that superpower to just shut it down. It drives me insane. The other night, my wife and I were watching a movie. She's wide awake. She goes, I think I might... And I'm sitting there staring at her, trying to figure it out. I'm like, what do you have, a clear conscience? What are you, a good person? What is wrong with you? And I had an epiphany the other night. I realized there are 2 kinds of people in this world, and we all fit into one category. There's the people that clapped. They hear like classical music in their heads, like Mozart in their heads when they're about to fall asleep. Then there's the people like me and everyone else in here who didn't clap, who hear a guy announcing a horse race in their head when they're trying to fall asleep. My wife's sleeping there like a little angel, like dun 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 dun. All I hear in my head is, all right, here comes anxiety, here comes anxiety, here comes anxiety. And right behind him, it's deep-seated regret, deep-seated regret. And all the way from the back, look out, it's childhood memories, childhood memories. And they're racing to the finish, and it's 8 a.m. Go to work. No! But I'm glad you could sleep. Congratulations. By the way, I did that voice at a show the other night. This guy comes up to me after the show. He goes, hey, man, you sound like a strip club DJ when you do that voice. I don't know if it was like a compliment or a diss. I was like, thanks. He goes, no, man, I'm a strip club DJ. He goes, you could be a strip club DJ. He said it like it was above comic. You know, if I work really hard at my craft, one day I could be the house MC at Stilettos. On a Tuesday afternoon. One can dream, one can dream. You ever go like a whole night without sleep? That's crazy. The next day, you're the most honest you're ever gonna be in your life. Because you're too exhausted to lie. This one time I had a flight, an early morning flight. I had the horse race announcer in my head the whole night. I get on the flight, and the pilot is greeting us as we're getting on the flight. And he goes, what are you doing in Tampa Bay when we land? I go, oh, I have this comedy show in a theater. And the pilot goes, oh, comedy. You ready? A lot of people in a theater, you're nervous? And I was like, please. I was born nervous. Like, I didn't expect that much truth to come out. The pilot puts his hand on my shoulder and he goes, "Don't worry, I get anxious on my job too." It took me like a minute when I sat down. I'm like, wait a minute. First of all, why did he tell us that before he took off? And also, there's certain jobs you shouldn't get to admit you have anxiety on. Like pilot. Like, yeah, we're getting ready for takeoff and I'm nervous! There's no turbulence out there, folks, but there's turbulence inside me. It's gonna wait for clearance from the flight deck. Also gonna wait for my Xanax to kick in, and we'll be right on our way. The sleep stuff started for me, I think, when I first had a kid. We got parents in here, clap for your parents. You know, my favorite thing about doing stand-up around the country is the fact that people don't like their own kids is the one thing they're honest about after a show. Like, I'll talk to you after a show, you'll lie about everything else. I'll be like, how's your job? Oh, it's a dream. How's your relationship? I'm with my best friend. How's your kid? He's a dick. I don't like him. And I'm like, how old's your kid? They're like, 2. I'm like, 2? It's crazy how quickly we don't like our own kids. Think about the terms we use to describe our kids. Like the terrible twos. It's when the kids throw tantrums and their parents call them terrible, which is an extreme word to use for a toddler. We don't use that word terrible for anything. We use it for Ivan the Terrible, a Russian prince who murdered his family. And what else? The New York Jets. That's it. That's like the only time. That's like it. And that's coming from the losing side. But here's the thing that parents don't want to admit. I think it's our fault that our kids are terrible. A little bit. Especially nowadays. We spoil our kids. We take pictures of everything they do. We clap when they eat. Then they turn 2, we're like, Tommy, could you put your shoes on? He's like, put my shoes on? Do you know who the fuck I am? Oh, I'm sorry, Dad, do I work for you? How about you put on my goddamn shoes and make me a grilled cheese with no crust, you piece of shit? And we're sitting there like, he's terrible. This generation of parents, we care so much about our kids, like a little too much. I was raised by baby boomers. It was a different approach. Right? A little hands-off, I think. Most baby boomers don't even know how many kids they have. Like, I'm a middle child. I went home recently. We're looking at family photos, and I wasn't in a bunch of them. Like, key photos through the years. And I was like, Dad, why am I not in these photos? He goes, I don't know. You were probably busy or something. When I was 7? What was I doing at 7? Was I auditing my Ninja Turtles? Was I swamped with paperwork at Christmas? But nowadays, we care so much about our kids. We really do. Like, we always think that everything we do is going to mess up our kids. Like, when my son was 3 years old, we moved them out of New York City. We went with him. I wasn't like, we got a 1-bedroom. There's no room. You got to get out. We moved them out of New York City at 3 years old, and I was really torn about that. Because at 3 years old, my son was like an angry, bitter, jaded New Yorker. I loved it. He was kind of over it, like life, at 3. It was great. Like, some people are proud when their kid takes their first steps. I was proud the first time my son rolled his eyes. We were in a crowded subway train. They go, we're going to be delayed a few minutes. And my 3-year-old son goes, poof. Perfect. Then he flicked his cigarette and gave an old lady the finger. I'm like, that's my boy. That's my city kid. It was a classic marriage story, by the way, how we moved out. Because I wanted to move to New Jersey. My wife wanted to move to Connecticut. So we compromised. And we moved to Connecticut. And here's the thing, just by stereotypes alone, I'm a little afraid that Connecticut's gonna like soften my son's hard edges from New York City. I have nightmares. He's gonna come home skipping in his tennis whites. being like, hey, daddy. Yeah, me, Declan, Deacon, and Duke, and... We're gonna head down to the gazebo with Jade and Caden and Blade and... We're gonna sip Arnold Palmer's and be racist. I'm like, I don't want it. I don't want it. Some people are afraid their kid's gonna become a criminal. In Connecticut, I'm afraid my son's gonna become a lacrosse player. I sense some lacrosse energy over here. I'd rather my son be tried for a crime than try out for lax. That's where I am. They always say that your life is gonna change when you have a kid, and the biggest change to me is like your relationship with your friends who don't have kids. Because even in the same time zone, you're on different time zones from each other. Like Eric, who was up here before, I texted him this morning at 9:30 in the morning. He got so mad at me. He was like, bro, you couldn't have waited like an hour to text me? And I was like, actually, I waited 3. It's 9:30 in the morning. I was just finishing on my lunch. I figured I'd say what's up. Because we're on different time zones. Eric doesn't have a kid. I have a kid. Eric's out all night drinking, partying. I'm up at dawn, apple picking or something dumb. We're on different time zones. The only time our time zones ever synced up is when I had a newborn baby. Because I was up in the middle of the night getting peed on. And so is Eric. Did everyone get it? Who was gonna get it? Perfect. The newborn phase when you have a kid, that's the craziest time. Because here's the thing, like overnight, you're a father. But back at home with my wife, I feel like I was still auditioning for the role of dad. You know, I was walking around, I'm like, I'm a dad. My wife was like, we'll see. She's always testing me. Like when my son was like 3 months old, he's sleeping in the other room, and this is New York City, so there's only one other room. And she's like, can you go in there and check on him? I was like, sure. So I go in there, I check on him, I come back out, I start making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And halfway through making the sandwich, my wife is staring at me. She's like, well, is he okay? I was like, you think if he wasn't okay, I would stop for a snack first? Before I get to what, the breathing issue? Yeah, honey, I just have to fuel up for the CPR. I know for a fact my wife did not trust me when she was pregnant. Because she signed me up for a class, it's a real thing, called Dad Boot Camp. It sounds like a gym class. I dressed for a gym class. It wasn't. It was a bunch of expecting parents, like sitting around a table learning what it's gonna be like to be a new dad. By the way, is there anything more useless in life than a group of almost dads? We have nothing to contribute to the world. And the teacher comes out, he goes, all right, dads, we're gonna go around and say the one thing that scares us the most about the idea of being a father. Dan, you go first. And I was like, all right, I gotta think about this, right? Like, I gotta be honest in this moment. So I was like, all right, what scares me the most about the idea of being a dad? I love doing stand-up comedy. And I feel like having a baby might mean doing less shows and compromising my dream, and maybe even losing that feeling that makes me feel unique. And the next guy went, and he goes, yeah, I'm mostly scared of my baby choking on food. I was like, oh, I shouldn't have gone first. I was like, can I change my answer? Obviously I meant, what'd you say? The choking thing, that's first. My dream is like third. It's like third. I'm also afraid I'm gonna love the baby too much, whatever. That dad, that new dad who said that, I couldn't stand that guy. I remember his name, that's how much I didn't like him. His name was Eddie. He was like this tough guy from the Bronx, and I just couldn't wait for him to say something dumb. And then my moment came. Oh, it was glorious. They were like talking about how to feed the kid. And Eddie raised his hand and he goes, yeah, so my wife makes chicken salad. The teacher was like, is there a question, Eddie? He goes, yeah, can my newborn baby eat chicken salad? The teacher was like, no, Eddie, your newborn baby should not eat chicken salad. And Eddie goes, oh, because of the mayo? I walked into dad boot camp thinking, oh my God, I'm gonna be somebody's father. I walked out of dad boot camp thinking, oh my God, Eddie's gonna be somebody's father. And then you have the kid, and nothing can prepare you for being a parent. Like when my son was 2, he was terrible at the time. I was playing dinosaur with him, all right? I was a T-Rex, and my son was a 2-year-old. He didn't have as much acting range as me. And I went to scare him, and I went, roar, and I smashed my head on the bottom of my glass kitchen table. It was this huge thud, and I just laid out flat. My wife runs in the room, she goes, what happened? And my son goes, there was a big bang, and the dinosaur went night-night. And my wife goes to me, she goes, are you teaching our 2-year-old about extinction? But I couldn't hear her because I had gone night-night. And I had like the worst headache from that. And later that day, I was Googling the symptoms of a concussion. It said the symptoms of a concussion are fatigue, irritability, and depression. And I was like, oh my God, I've always had a concussion. I turned to my wife, I'm like, honey, we both have concussions. This is insane. It's amazing to me that I got a concussion playing dinosaur, because my mom wouldn't even let me play football when I was in high school because she was worried about concussions. And that set up the worst conversation with the high school football coach. I was like, Coach, my mom says I can't play football because of the concussions. And he was like, okay, but no one's asking you to play football. You're not on the team. You're small and uncoordinated. You're out of breath just telling me this news. You're failing gym. Why are you in my office? I was like, Coach, there's no I in team. He's like, there's no you on team. Get out of my office. To his credit, I was a short kid. I was a very short kid. And I look back on it now and I laugh. But when you're a short kid, like in middle school, you're gonna get bullied 2 different ways. From boys and girls. It's 2 different ways you get bullied. Like 6th grade, my first day of 6th grade, I'm the shortest kid in the school. This 8th grader just looks at me. He's like the tallest one, I'm the shortest one. He's like, well, we have to do this. He scoops me up and he shoves me into a locker and closes the door. He called it going shrimping. He scooped me up, he's like, we're going shrimping. By the way, I grew up in Jersey. I don't know why he was Southern in this story. It's like, we're going shrimping. And he put me in the locker. It wasn't so bad. I actually learned something inside of a locker. You know those slits in a locker? There's only one actual function for those slits. It's to keep kids who are bullied alive. That was the school system back then. They're like, look, we're not gonna stop the bullying, but we will keep them breathing till lunch. That is the promise of New Jersey. So boys are Neanderthals. They'll throw you into a locker. Girls, they'll cut a little bit deeper than that. Because in 6th grade, that's where puberty starts to really mess with you. And puberty is not fair. And it makes no sense. It makes no sense. I'm the shortest kid in my entire school, but I could grow a mustache? What the hell is that? And did I keep the mustache? Yeah, you're damn right I kept the mustache. Because in my 11-year-old brain, I thought it would work with the ladies. It does? We went to different schools, I think. Because in my school, like, there was no way any girl was being like, let's see, the quarterback does look tempting. or young Super Mario? Which one is it gonna be? That male model with abs does seem cool. Or that tiny used car salesman. I can't figure it out. But I was such an optimistic kid. I had a lot of confidence. I think it was the mustache. Like my 6th grade dance, I was so confident. I walk in, I beeline it right across the dance floor to the prettiest girl in school. And I was like, hey, do you want to dance? She gave me the greatest answer. She goes, I know who you are. She goes, you're that short guy with the mature face. I couldn't quite tell what she meant, but I had a feeling she meant no. That's the thing about middle school girls. They won't just reject you. They'll say no and tell you why they're rejecting you. She was like, no, Dan, I will not dance with you, and I do have some feedback. Your face is too old for your tiny little body. How do I put this, Dan? Your body looks like you're too short to ride a roller coaster, but your face looks like the old guy who operates the roller coaster. I was like, thanks, I'll work on that, I guess. Speaking of mustaches, I'm an Italian from New Jersey. You got any Italians here tonight? Yeah. When you're an Italian from New Jersey, people say the same thing to you. They ask you the same question every time. Are you in the mafia? And here's the truth. We were not in the mafia. I wanted to be. I did, but here's how I know we were not in the mafia. My dad used coupons. There's no scene in a mob movie where someone is known for getting good deals. Who's that guy? Yeah, that's Sal the Saver. He doesn't actually do anything illegal, but he says the deals are so good, they feel illegal. We're slashing throats, he's slashing prices. It's incredible. You get weird reactions around the country when you talk about being Italian. Like I got off stage the other night, and there was this guy, and I just walk off stage and he goes, bibbidi bobbidi boobidi. Bibbidi bobbidi boobidi. I'm like, what do I do with that? It's like, thank you. I appreciate it. He goes, no, I could do that voice. He goes, Italians are the kind of people you invite to a party just to make fun of. I was like, yeah, but you can't take an Italian out of the party, because chances are, we catered it. Yeah. You got the accent, but we got the ziti, so it's your play. My mom was an Italian immigrant, and she would always tell me that like Italian stereotypes are not true. But then you'd meet someone who fit every single Italian stereotype. That was my Italian barber, Tony. He was like such a stereotype. He cut my hair in a wife beater. And you know it's an Italian shirt, it's just like a pizza slice. It was like a deep V. It wasn't even a shirt, it was like a chest hair delivery system. I love my Italian barber, Tony. He always gives it to me straight. When I was just dating my wife, he was the first one ever to realize that I was going bald. He realized it in real time, but he didn't say, Dan, you're going bald. This is how it happened. He's cutting my hair, and he stops halfway through the haircut, and he goes, whoa. Hey, Dan, let me ask you a question. Are you married? And I was like, no. You should get married. Like soon. I was like, Tony, there's no rush. And he goes, I disagree. I went back to my Italian barber, Tony, recently. He found my first gray hair, which was a crazy moment. I always wondered if I go gray or bald first. And as it turns out, it's both. And Tony gave me the news like he was my doctor. He was cutting my hair again, and he stops, and he goes, whoa. Hey, Dan, I got bad news and I got good news. The bad news is you're going gray. The good news is not for much longer. I was like, Tony, my hair's gonna look good bald. And he goes, I disagree. Because here's the thing, I'm married. I can go bald. I'm pretty sure she'll stay. I don't know. But I don't know, because my wife is much better looking than me. And I know that because all my friends are like, dude, your wife is much better looking than you. They say it a lot. They say it like they're scared for her vision. They're like, Gina married you and she can drive at night? People ask me like, Dan, are you offended by that? Yeah. Like, I get that I'm a fairy tale story, right? But there's more to me than married up. I'm good at foosball. Nobody ever mentions that. I don't get jealous, though. But I did get jealous recently. For Christmas, I got my wife a couples massage. We walk in, and there's only a male masseuse and a female masseuse. And my wife and I had not talked this out. And under her breath, my wife goes, Dan, you pick. It's kind of a tough choice to make in the spur of a moment. I'm like, do I want a man to massage my wife in front of me? What if she likes it too much? Do I want a man to massage me? What if I like it too much? I gotta change my whole life, you know? And the masseuses, I don't know, what's the plural? Masseusai? The masseusai could not have been more different from each other. Because the woman, she was Eastern European, very masseuse-like. Her name was Svetlana. The man's name was Brute. Not Bruce, Brute. He was this like jacked Adonis. He looked like Captain America. I'm barely Captain Crunch. I'm like, how are these massages gonna go? I picture Svetlana being like, yeah, we're gonna use ancient crystals from the mountains of Zeus. And I picture Brute being like, yeah, I'm gonna pour Coors Light in your wife's back. It's from the Rockies, it's gonna be sick. So I go with the woman. My wife goes with Brute. And if you remember the couples massage, you're in the same room, you're face down, you can't see anything, all you can do is hear. How do I describe this? There are noises coming from my wife that I've never heard before. Have you ever heard someone say, oh my God, 3 different ways? I'm lying there, all I hear is, oh my God. Oh my God. Ah, Dios mío. I'm like, did Brute just massage my wife into knowing Spanish? What is happening? In the middle of this pleasure fest, Svetlana leans down to me. She goes, Daniel, you seem very tense. And this has never happened before, but you're getting more tense as this massage is going on. I'm like, yeah, my wife is having the greatest date of her life. And I'm at a different table. At one point, I heard my wife go, oh my God, Brute, it's like you have 3 hands. I'm lying there going, I don't think one of those is a hand. I left the massage more stressed than when I walked in. I was like, thank you so much, thank you so much, thank you. Svetlana leans down to me, she goes, Daniel, namaste. And Brute turns to my wife, he goes, yo, Gina, I'll call you, all right? But I figured out what we're gonna do next time. I figured it out, we're gonna call ahead, and we're both gonna get Brute. It's the only way to do it. And how can he massage both of us? Good question. Well, apparently he has 3 hands. So that was one Christmas present. The other Christmas present we got this year is Disney tickets for my son. We got Disney tickets, and that set up a crazy conversation in the in-law house. So here's what happened. My wife is telling her parents that we're going to Disney World. My wife goes, hey, do you have photos of me when I was 3 and you took me to Disney? And they look at each other across the table and they go, should we tell her? She goes, tell me what? And they go, we never took you to Disney World when you were 3. She goes, what do you mean? They go, when you were 9, you really wanted to go to Disney and we didn't want to take you. So we just told you we took you to Disney and you bought it. And I was sitting there going, that is honestly the most brilliant thing I have ever heard in my entire life. I looked mad. My wife was like, are you mad for me? And I was like, no, I'm mad I didn't think of it. That is brilliant, because my kid is 6. We had to take him to Disney World. But I figured out what to do next time. I figured it out. If we have another kid, I'm not going to take him anywhere. I'm just going to buy one of those green screens. And when he's 3, I'm going to take a bunch of photos. And when he's 9, he's going to be like, hey, Dad, can we go to San Francisco? And I'm going to be like, we've been to San Francisco. You've also been on Mars? And here's you writing songs with Tupac and Biggie. You remember? What a Sunday that was. The problem is that this plan could backfire. It could backfire. Because one day I'm going to be old and senile. And I'm going to be like, you guys never visit me. My son's going to be like, we just visited you. We took you bungee jumping? Your new hip looks amazing, Dad. And here's you signing your will over to us. Remember that, Dad? You remember that day? We were at Disney at the time. I took my kid to Disney. It was magical. It really was magical. I gotta say, it was an awesome trip. The last day on the trip, we thought we had free passes to the animal kingdom, because my friend had given me passes, and we get there, and they go, your friend's an idiot. These passes don't work at all. And we had saved up all of our money for all the other days, and we were out of money by the last day. But my son had the ears on, you know? I'm like, I guess we gotta go. I guess we gotta go in. We're here, we parked, we're here. Guess how much it is at the animal kingdom for 2 adults and a kid for one day? Guess how much it is? 200? $750. You haven't been there in a while, sir, have you? 200 doesn't get you a sandwich at Disney World. $750, which changed the entire tone of the day. It did, because we go on a ride, my wife would be like, oh, what do you think of that ride? I'm like, it was good. It wasn't $100 good. And the animal kingdom is a glorified zoo. It's a glorified zoo. We're walking around, we get to the tiger cage, and there's no tiger. And the person working there goes, oh, the tiger's sleeping. I was like, oh, okay. Wake him up. For $750, wake up the tiger. No, for $750, I want a tiger to come out and do a perfect backflip. I want a perfect backflip. No, you know what? For $750, I want a perfect backflip, and I want the tiger to reenact the Jungle Book with all of his animal friends in French. In French. I want a bilingual tiger doing a backflip and reenacting the Jungle Book in French. And I was yelling so loud that I woke up the tiger. Yeah. Yeah. The tiger came out, he was all like, you know. And he locked eyes with me. We had a moment. We looked at each other. I started feeling really bad about how I was behaving in front of my family and strangers and half of the animal kingdom. And Tiger's looking at me like, yeah, we know it's expensive. You know. I'm majestic, but you know. And I'm looking at him, and I had this this beautiful moment. I was felt one with nature. You know, and I would say that moment, that beautiful moment, is worth, I don't know, $75? Maybe 75? 80 tops? For $750, I want that moment with the tiger, and I want to keep the tiger. I want to bring the tiger home with me and eat a lacrosse player. That's what I want the tiger to do. So I was stressed out after the Animal Kingdom. My wife was like, listen, there's a hot tub at the pool. I want you to mellow out. So it was nighttime, and we went to the hot tub. It was an outdoor hot tub, and it was a beautiful moment. I was with my wife. We're sitting in the hot tub. My kid's on the outside. His like little feet splashing in the water, having a beautiful family moment under the stars. And then from a distance, this guy just emerges. He was wearing an American flag Speedo. He was this old guy just like in the middle of the night, just walking out all confident. That's the worst, right? Like you're having a beautiful moment with your family, and then all of a sudden you're taking a bath with a stranger. And this guy, he walks in the hot tub, and he's like, he starts talking to us. We have to make small talk with him, which I hate, He finds out that we're from the New York area. He's from Florida. And when he finds that out, he goes, just so you know, I'm very political. By the way, when someone walks into a hot tub and they start a sentence with just so you know, it's never gonna be a good thing. It's never like, just so you know, very open-minded. Just a little something about me. So now I'm just trying to not talk politics. I don't like talking politics. I'm just avoiding everything. So I'm like, all right, you know what? We'll talk about pets. All right, there's nothing political about pets, right? Or so I thought. We had just gotten a kitten. The kitten was 8 weeks old when I was in that hot tub. And you can't tell a cat's gender at 8 weeks old. My son really wanted a boy cat, so he had just been walking around the apartment just waiting for balls to drop. Every day it was like New Year's Eve in Times Square at my house. He's like, is it time yet? Is it time? So in the hot tub, I don't know the cat's gender. So I'm describing the cat, and I'm like, yeah, he or she is very cuddly. He or she is very nice. And the guy splashes the water, and he goes, Jesus Christ. I was like, what? He goes, you people think cats are transgender now too? Which is not what I was saying, but I didn't want to spoil this moment. He goes, seriously, is it a boy or a girl cat? And I'm like, look, we're gonna let the cat decide. It's not up to me, right? We're gonna leave out a couple of outfits. And whatever they come back wearing, that's what we're gonna go with. He was like, seriously, is it a boy or a girl? I was like, all right, it's a boy cat in a girl cat's body. And that is a story of how I reclaimed a hot tub for my family. So I was telling that story to my therapist, and she was like, why don't you just say that you didn't want to talk politics? You had to be passive aggressive. She was like, you take things too personally. And I gotta be honest with you, I took that comment personally. And my therapist gave me this exercise to be more direct. She said, I want you to write down 5 things that you hate. So I'm gonna leave you guys tonight with my list of 5 things I hate. Can I do that? Can I do that? Yeah. Yeah. But I've been teaching my kid not to say hate, so here are 5 things that are not to my liking. Number 5 on my list. If you drink decaf coffee, you are not to my liking. Yeah. I don't understand your life. Today I was at a diner. The waitress goes, we got 2 pots of coffee. They're both decaf. I was like, no, thank you. She goes, but it tastes just like coffee. I don't care about the taste. My wife doesn't like the taste of crack. She likes the sweet, sweet good that you get with it. The taste, I would drink coffee out of the Hudson River if it got me awake. There's no commercial for decaf coffee. Hey, you like the great taste of coffee? Without all that pesky happiness? Decaf coffee. Hey, you like having bad breath, but but you stay asleep? Decaf coffee from the makers of O'Doul's and regular strength Tylenol. Decaf coffee. Number 4 on my list. If you have ever referred to yourself as the fun uncle, you are not to my liking. That is a nickname you gave yourself. That is a participation trophy for a sport that no one asked you to play. You know what we call the fun uncle behind his back? The alcoholic uncle. Yeah, you're fun at a bar, but we don't need your brand of fun at our house. I've never been like, hey, buddy, we're having a good time. You know, it'd be really fun. My degenerate brother, who's gonna come in and spill whiskey over all your toys. Wouldn't that be nice? If you're good, he'll let you hit his vape pen. No, you know what we want? We don't want the fun uncle. We want the reliable uncle. The don't burn the house down uncle. That's what we want. We want a reliable uncle so we can go out for once and be the fun parents. Find a bar with a reasonable copay and just enjoy ourselves. Number 3 on my list of things that are not to my liking. If you are a conspiracy theorist, you are not to my liking. And hear me out, because I know you have opinions. It's not the theories themselves. It's the confidence in which you deliver your theories. I don't understand that level of confidence. You know how the entire system works, that it goes all the way to the top. I've never been that confident in ordering lunch. I have a conspiracy theory cousin. We all do, by the way. And by the way, if you ever look around your Thanksgiving table and you can't find the conspiracy theory cousin, congratulations. You're the conspiracy theory cousin. I used to get annoyed at them. Now I just love it. I find it hilarious. Like when every Thanksgiving when I see my cousin, it's like waiting for a new album to drop. I'm like, what's the new one? This Thanksgiving, he goes, don't get the new iPhone, bro. Don't get the new iPhone, bro. I was like, why not? He goes, the government tracks you through the iPhone. I gotta be honest with you. I don't really get bothered by tracking because I'm a comedian. I don't know if you've ever met any comedians, but as a people, we love to be tracked. We want you to know where we are at all times. That's why I could not be a conspiracy theorist. It'd make no sense. I'd be like, I don't want the government knowing where I am. But I will be at the Chuckle Hut on Friday at 8 p.m. Tell your family and your friends, not your government friends. Unless there's a lot of them, and then I need people to show up, so that's... Number 2 on my list of things that are not to my liking. The way movies depict marriage. Every movie ends at the wedding. The credits roll, you're like, what happened next? And they're like, don't worry about it, you don't need to see that. Even superheroes. I get so annoyed that superheroes are hardly ever married. I was watching the movie Super Pets with my kid, right? It's a good movie. There's the superheroes with their pets. Clark Kent proposes to Lois Lane in that movie. They have been making Superman movies since 1978. That is the first time Clark Kent has ever proposed to Lois Lane. You think you have commitment issues? Try 45 years. Because Hollywood knows you would not want to watch a movie with a married Superman. You don't want to watch Superman win a war against evil, come home and lose a fight about the dishes. You don't want to see that. You wouldn't even watch that trailer. Be like, in this Superman movie, Lois Lane brings up an argument from 3 movies ago and refuses to let it go. Strap in for a 5-hour epic. Could you imagine one of the scenes in a married Superman? Like Clark Kent changes into Superman And he's walking out of the house, and his wife's like, "Where are you going?" He's like, I'm gonna go save the world. That's what I do. I save the world. She's like, "Is that in the calendar?" Because if it's not in the calendar, it's not gonna happen. Number one on my list of things that are not to my liking. If you have a kid, or you know a kid, and you walk up to other parents and give them unsolicited advice, you are not to my liking. It's always way too specific, your advice. It's kind of about you, isn't it? I asked my best friend for advice when my wife was pregnant. I was like, "I'm having a kid, you have a kid, what should I do?" He goes, "All right, you and your wife are having a kid, but you and your wife still have to remember to keep the flame alive." I was like, okay, I was thinking, like, how do I keep the baby alive? Okay, how should I keep the flame alive with my wife? He goes, "All right, to keep the flame alive, you and your wife should try role playing. You know, where like you pretend to be other people." I don't want to know what my wife's fantasy is. It's not gonna be me. I tried it once, I'm like, "Honey, tonight, you be a sexy nurse." She was like, "Ooh, okay." "You be Dave from down the hall." From apartment 3B? All right? It's just so realistic. "Don't you want me to be a hot cop or a fireman?" She goes, "No, be a lawyer. Dave's a lawyer." Eventually I was like, "You want me to just get Dave?" I mean, at this point I just knock and go get him. She goes, "No, it's Wednesday. He plays tennis on Wednesday." I'm like, "What the hell?" I feel like now that my wife and I have a kid, we have to be more realistic with our role plays, you know? Like it used to be, you be a sexy nurse. And now it's like, you be an exhausted nurse who just worked a double shift. And I'll be a patient in a coma. Which, by the way, is amazing, because even if I fall asleep, she's like, "Baby, you are so into this role play." Hey guys, I'm Dan Altano. You've been so much fun. Thank you so much.